But here's a big one. This is the big news break today in the Tata Sons Mistry saga. Seems like the last straw in the relationship was the well-spun renewables deal. Ratan Tata raised concerns over why Mistry did not seek the approval of the Tata Sons board before sealing the 9,300 crore rupee acquisition. In fact, Shireen Bhan and Arun Giri are here with the details. Shireen, over to you. This really seems to be the tipping point.
Well, we've been raising this issue over the last few days now, that this was a point of friction between Cyrus Mistry and Ratan Tata. But we now have information that Arun has accessed, which very clearly seems to suggest that Mr. Tata had raised serious concerns about the structure of the Welspun acquisition and the non-communication aspect of the Welspun acquisition, saying that the Tata Trusts were not given an opportunity to assess whether this was in the interest of shareholders or not. Remember, the share purchase agreement between Tata Power and Welspun for the renewable business was signed in June, and finally the deal was concluded in September. And we understand that Mr. Tata raised these concerns with board members of the Tata Sons at the end of June. Let's go across to Arun now. He joins us with more details. Arun, so as we've been pointing out, that this was one of the many reasons for the friction between Ratan Tata and Cyrus Mistry, but now information that you have seems to suggest that perhaps this could have been the final straw in the relationship. Ratan Tata, we understand, raised concerns about the manner in which the Welspun acquisition was taken forward, the non-communication, as Mr. Ratan Tata repeatedly says to board members about the Welspun acquisition, about how this was a breach of undertaking by Tata Sons to Tata Trust. Take us through what you now know about what really went down.
So we have been discussing over the last 72 to 96 hours that there was a particular deal, an acquisition in the Tata Group, which Mr. Tata and some of the Tata Sons board members learned through the newspapers. Now we know which one was that. It was Tata Power's acquisition of Welspun Renewables Energy, announced, approved in June, and towards June end, Mr. Ratan Tata wrote to some Tata Sons board members raising serious concerns about the way this deal was not communicated to the Tata Sons board member, how some of the board members, including himself, learnt about the deal from the newspapers, and he clearly felt that this deal should have been discussed in the Tata Sons board, that an approval should have been sought from the Tata Sons board for this deal. In fact, specifically, he communicated to the board members that non-communication, non-discussion, non-approval by the Tata Sons board of the Welspun Renewables deal constituted a breach of the concerned undertaking by Tata Sons with its principal shareholder. And here the principal shareholder is Tata Trust. And because they were not given enough information about this deal, Tata Sons and Tata Trust would not be in whether this deal was in the best interest of Tata Power or the shareholders. In fact, he went on to write in that communication that it would not be possible for the Tata Sons board if Tata Power could finance this acquisition within the company. So Mr. Tata felt that this should have been communicated to. They should not have been learning about such a big deal through the news. That this deal should have been discussed and approval should have been sought from the Tata Sons board for the Welspun Renewables deal. And when this issue was raised by Mr. Cyrus Mistry, Mr. Mistry is reportedly told Mr. Tata that insider trading regulations prevented him from communicating about the deal with Mr. Tata or the Tata Sons board before he actually did. So his defense was the insider trading regulations, which he did not want to fall foul of. Mr. Tata also felt that the structure of the deal had to be examined, whether that was the optimum structure for Tata Sons. If you look at the structure of the deal, you have 15 operating companies of Welspun. They were owned by Welspun Renewables Energy, which in turn was acquired by Tata Power's Renewables company, and which in turn was owned by Tata Power, wherein in Tata Power you had Tata Sons having a significant stake, and Tata Trust the dominant shareholder in Tata Sons. So you had 5 to 6 layers, and from these layers upwards to Tata Sons, was this the best structure for Tata Sons? Was not sure, and this is what they wanted to examine. That's why they wanted to examine and whether it was in the best interest of Tata Sons, whether best interest of Tata Power. And I've just said what Mr. Mistri's defense was, the insider trading regulations. All in all, we broke this news almost 96 hours ago, Monday evening. We've been saying one of the main reasons for Mr. Mistry being replaced by Mr. Tata was communication. We did not know, how big an issue this was, the Welspun matter was, but this clearly reveals that communication was a major issue between Mr. Mistry and Mr. Tata, and this was probably the final nail in the coffin as far as that is concerned.
Absolutely, and it's important to note here that the Tata Trust had also raised concerns about the structure of the deal. If we go by what Mr. Tata had communicated to board members about the concerns that they had with this particular acquisition, this particular transaction. Arun, as always, thanks very much for joining us with this CNBC TV 18 news break, one of the many news breaks in the bitter boardroom battle that continues. It's time now for us